Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining. My name is Julie Shields Rutina, and I am the Director of College Planning, Education, and Training at MEFA. And tonight's webinar is about understanding financial aid offers and paying the college bill. And I just want to be clear that this is a very unusual year. And so while in most years you would have all of your financial aid offers at this point, I know that that is not the case, and that many of you are operating in this situation where you don't have all of your aid offers or any of your aid offers. So I just want to acknowledge that it's a challenging year, but we're going to go through everything anyway, and hopefully there'll be a lot for you to learn, and we'll go from there. So here are a few logistics. If you have questions, please put them in the Q&A, and then I will try to get to those. I am here on my own tonight, so I don't have someone behind the scenes looking at those questions, but I will try to get to them whenever I can. And if you need to leave, I am recording this, so I will send you the recording and the slides tomorrow. And if you need closed captioning, press the CC button, and that will give you a live transcript of the words that we're speaking. All right, and we'll go along from there. So a few words about MEFA. Hopefully you know MEFA, but if you don't, MEFA is a state authority that has been around since 1982, helping families plan, save, and pay for college. And we have so many resources to help you. So I hope you stay in touch with us often, and know that we give a lot of guidance at whatever stage and age your student is at. So the first thing I'd say, if you are listening to this, you probably have or know a student who is a senior in high school and is receiving college acceptances, and you're trying to figure it all out. So let's keep this in perspective, and let's just say congratulations, especially to you students who have worked so hard, and to you parents who we know have supported your students. And so this is an exciting time. It just has that extra frustration this year because the financial aid process has been so challenging. So here's what we're going to talk about this evening. We're going to just briefly touch on some FAFSA updates. We're receiving them daily, where problems are being corrected daily and weekly. So I'll give you a few notes there. And then we'll really dive into when you do have a financial aid offer from a college, what's on that? How can you understand that? And how can you compare that to other offers so that you can make a good financial decision? And then we'll talk about how do families pay that college bill when there's an amount that is left that you are responsible for as a family. How will you pay that? And then we'll talk about what's next, some resources, and other places you can turn for help as we go along here. All right, so some FAFSA updates. I guess it's just important for you to know that usually the FAFSA process starts October 1st. And as soon as a family completes the FAFSA, student and parents, within a few days, that information gets to the colleges that the student is applying to. And then the colleges have from whenever that FAFSA gets filed, sometimes in mid-fall, all the way through this time of year to get all of those awards out to students. And that just didn't happen this year. The FAFSA became available January 1st. And even when it became available, there were lots of technical difficulties with it. And it really didn't work so well at all. And colleges did not even start to receive the information from any families until March. And we are hearing reports from colleges that still that technology is not necessarily working. And so they're having a hard time receiving the data so that they can in turn make awards to all of you. So please, please know that this is a very large problem, and unfortunately, you're probably caught up in it. But we're going to keep having webinars, helping all of that. In fact, tomorrow morning we have a webinar at 8:30 a.m. to talk about some of those challenges, and we're going to keep having times when you can come and get help with your FAFSA. But anyway, the FAFSAs are being processed now, electronic ones first and paper ones later, but we have no date to say when paper ones will be processed. So if you can do it online, that's the best. And students should receive an email saying their FAFSA has been processed and that this information has been sent to the schools. So hopefully that is happening. And that email could say that your status is processed, which is great, or it could be in progress, in review, action required, closed. So those are the notes you can get. On your screen is a personalized help session that we had on April 18th, but we will have more. So stay connected to MEFA so that you'll be able to stop in, but you can always call us at any point and we can help you get that FAFSA completed if it's in any of those other statuses. So as for corrections, you can go in and make corrections now. So please do that if you were told you needed to make corrections. And we heard some news today that families whose parent doesn't have a social security number, that's been a big technical pain. So that today now should be working where those students can go in, and while you might have to input information on your own and not bring forth a tax return, you should be able to fix that now and correct that. So that we heard about that today. So hopefully that will help some other people too. And one thing to know is give colleges a few weeks after you submit your FAFSA, because again, they are so backed up with all of this. One thing we are also hearing is that schools are delaying their deadlines where you need to tell them that you're coming. So I would say we're giving you a list here from NACAC. That's a public directory of enrollment commitment deadlines. May 1st is the typical date, but I know many institutions have pushed that forward. And what I would advise you to do is stay in touch with the colleges you're most interested in and find out when they're hoping to hear from you, and just stay in touch and continue to stay in touch with them if you need if you don't have an award yet and need to wait. A couple more community resources. These are FAFSA Day events. There's one going on right now. You can use these QR codes where you can go and have your FAFSA corrected. And there'll be another one May 13th. So make sure you know that you have help to help you do that. You can always call MEFA as well. All right. So with all of that acknowledged, and it's a big acknowledgement because this has been a tough year, we're going to talk about, once you do have your financial aid offers, how do you understand them? How do you compare them? All right. So what is on a financial aid offer? When you receive a financial aid offer from a college, it should have a lot of information. And if it doesn't have some of this information, then it's really up to you to go back, look online at the college, maybe call the college to get more of this information so you have a complete picture. But what you should see is the types of aid that are awarded to you. So grants and scholarships, work study, loans, and where that aid is from, the federal government, the state, colleges themselves. And so here's an example of one. You can see, okay, we have ABC University grant. That is probably from ABC University. Then we have a couple of federal grants, SEOG, Pell Grant. We have a Massachusetts grant that's from the state. And then we have 3 federal programs that are common on award offers: a work study program and 2 federal direct loans. In this case, one being subsidized and one being unsubsidized. And the difference between those 2 loans is that when a loan is subsidized, the federal government pays the interest the whole time the student is in school. But if it's unsubsidized, the federal government doesn't do that. So the subsidized is better, but most students end up taking this federal direct these federal direct student loans. And as a freshman, the maximum that you can be awarded with that loan is $5,500. So you can see that's an example of seeing the the aid that has been awarded to you. And you'll see each aid offer looks a little bit different. Then I just want to point out that some of the aid that you receive will be merit based, and that will be based on you, the student, have done a great job with grades, with other talents, maybe a sport or an instrument or something, but most of the time it's academic. And you may have been awarded a grant or scholarship based on the fact that that college really wants to attract you to their school, and that would be a merit-based award. But you also could be receiving some need-based aid, and that's based on your family's financial information as you shared with the college on the FAFSA or on the CSS profile or both. And so some of the aid will be need-based. And it's just important to know what's merit-based and what's need-based, um, mainly because you want to know, is this aid going to continue year in, year out? And you want it to. And so a couple of questions you want to ask here are, if it's merit-based, are there things that your student needs to do to keep that money? And usually it could be, oh, a student has to keep a 3.0 grade point average or something like that. So make sure you understand that. You wouldn't want to enroll and then not understand that and next year lose the money. So you want to make sure you know what you need to do to keep that merit-based aid. And then with need-based aid, basically, as long as your financial situation stays the same, you probably will receive a similar amount of need-based aid in the following years too. But you want to make sure of that too. So you want to have that conversation with the financial aid office. And I'm going to say a little bit more about those loans that we talked about earlier, the subsidized and unsubsidized federal direct student loans. Now, these loans are in the student's name and the student's name only. The student is the sole borrower. There was no credit check done. And these loans have fixed interest rates. Right now, the interest rate is 5.5 on these loans, but the new rate that your student will take advantage of will be announced in May. So just know that there will be a new rate, but it will be fixed. Whatever it is, when the student signs the promissory note, this loan for this year will stay at that rate. I mentioned that subsidized is the best because the federal government is paying that interest while the student is in college. And the unsubsidized, the interest does begin to accrue immediately. But the good thing is the student does not have to make any payments on either of these loans until 6 months after graduation. Also, you see the limits over to the right. So the freshman year, the student can borrow 5,500, sophomore year 6,500, and then 7,500 and 7,500. And what will happen is the college will send you information so that the student can go on and sign a promissory note and complete entrance counseling, which is really just learning about the loans and understanding that they're borrowing, and do that in the summer so that that loan can be dispersed in time for paying the bill. But important to know that no payments while in school, and there are several repayment options for the student upon graduation. So the student has a lot of options, and on studentaid.gov, the student can explore those at any point. But one of the newer plans is called the SAVE plan, and that is based on a student's income. So it's an income-based repayment structure so that the student should be able to pay these loans off. And if they feel like they're not able to afford that right up front, then they could choose one of these income-based repayment plans. If a student takes all of this loan, federal direct student loans, subsidized and unsubsidized, during a 4-year college experience, they'll graduate with about $28,000. And that translates into about a $300 payment per month for 10 years on the regular payment plan. And some students will do that and do great. But if a student can't, they could choose one of the income-based plans. So then the other piece of information you need to know from those awards is, what are the costs? You need to know, what is it going to cost for the year? So you want to make sure that on that award, you see tuition, fees, any housing costs, any food estimates, and health insurance will be on there. And so the college charges, the total charges for the year, minus financial aid and an enrollment deposit that you will put down when you say, yes, I'm coming, will equal the balance due. And that balance due is then what you need to come up with as a family to pay. So a really great tool that we have on the MEFA website is called the MEFA College Cost Calculator. And what that allows you to do is list out side by side the different colleges and what all their costs are, what all the financial aid is, to get that bottom line. And that bottom line will show you, okay, if a student is going to attend college A, as a family, we're going to need to come up with this much money. If they attend college B, we're going to need to come up with this much money. So that's just a good way to compare. And maybe that's going to help you make that decision. So it's just a good exercise to do. So use this college cost calculator and find out what are you going to have to come up with financially for each of the colleges. And that's important to know before you make that decision. And this is the link to it right here. And someone asked a really good question. Does the aid only cover tuition, or can it also cover room and board and other expenses related to the education? So the answer is, it can cover everything if you get enough, but financial aid is able to cover tuition, fees, room and board, books, supplies, required expenses. So, if you happen to have a terrific aid offer, it can cover that whole cost. Unfortunately, it doesn't always do that, and especially not for all the colleges, but colleges do the best they can to, you know, try to meet as much of that, but it can cover all of it. And if you have enough in your award, yes, that can cover all of those other expenses as well. Good question. All right. So when you have those college cost calculator results, here are the things you really need to think about. What is the net price at each school? That's the amount that's going to come out of your pocket after financial aid. And then, which colleges can your family afford? Maybe after you see those all side by side, you will see that some colleges are more affordable than others. And that's a good thing to know. And you do also need to consider that your student may be going for 2 or 4 years of attendance. So even if you calculate, oh, we can afford this year, make sure you're considering that you're going to need to afford it for the next few years. And students might also want to think about, are they in a program that's going to require that they get a graduate degree? That might help influence how much they want to borrow, how much you want to borrow in case you want to help them later. And you, as parents, also need to figure out, do I have other children coming up that I may need to help? So think about all of those things. And let's just say, obviously, limit your borrowing. But I will also share that most families that I talk with, there is borrowing involved in paying for college. Most families piece it together from a number of sources. So anyway, you want to choose a college that the student loves and also is affordable and makes financial sense. One question we always get is, can I appeal my aid offer? And the answer is absolutely yes. So we actually have a video on our website, and it was a panel of a lot of financial aid administrators from different colleges talking about appeals and what is the best way to make an appeal, what things are considered, what things are not considered. So there's a QR code there if you want to look into that and watch that video. If you're going to write an appeal letter, that might be a good thing to watch. So take a look at that. But in general, the appeals that are always accepted and reviewed are if there's been any change in circumstances, such as a drop in income or assets. And that can happen even going forward at any time of the year. Or if you have things like unreimbursed medical expenses, household expenses that weren't counted on or that might be unique or different, changes in family size. So, all of those things you can appeal. And you should connect with the financial aid office and find out what is the appeal process at that college. And sometimes they'll just have you write an email or a letter. Sometimes they might have a form. And so use the process. And I will also say, if you're making an appeal and it's maybe even not for some of those reasons, but it's just because you really want to attend and it's not feeling affordable, make that appeal too and just be honest. You can say, this college is my son's first choice. This is my daughter's absolute first choice that she wants to go to, and we don't know how we're going to do it with this award. And then the college can ask you questions and take a look and see if they can help you. All right, so now let's talk about some methods of paying the college bill. And I am going to see, we have one more question here. Let's see. Great. Well, you know what? We're going to get to all these things. Perfect. Okay, so how how are families going to pay for all of this? So one way is private outside scholarships, and these are scholarships that don't come through the federal government, the state, or your college, but might come from parents' employers or the community organization in your town or students' employers. So just keep your eye out, especially students. You're at this stage, you're going to college. If there are any scholarship funds you can apply for, do so. And you can do that, I like to say, closer to home, again, in your town, at your school, talk with your school counselor. Um, and also, you could use some of the online search tools for scholarships, like MEFA has mefapathway.org, collegeboard.org, fastweb.com are just some of the many scholarship um, websites out there. And you can put information about yourself in the system, and it will produce a list of scholarships. And then you can go in and see what makes sense for you to apply. But I mean, you have essays written, it's worth the extra effort, even if you get $500 here, $250 there, $1,000 maybe. All of that can help, really help when it comes time to paying the bill. So really look into some of these private scholarships. Also, I will say MEFA has all kinds of social media accounts, and one of the things we do on our social media accounts is put information about scholarships that we hear about. All right. So then another way that families pay, and again, I see families usually do a mix of all of these things, is through savings. So maybe you've saved a little bit over the years. Hopefully, you may not have, but hopefully you have. 529 college savings plans are very specific to paying for college. That's a great way. Prepaid tuition plans, or you might just have a savings bond, a stock, or CD, or student's bank account. You may also have contributions from family members, which are wonderful. So that's always acceptable. But let's talk about how some of these work. So these are MEFA's two programs. The MEFA U plan is the prepaid tuition plan. So I've just given you the phone number here, and you can log into your account and request a distribution, which goes directly to the college. Um, so complete that. And the MEFA U fund is a 529 plan, and most 529 plans work similarly, where you call your fund manager or you go online to your fund manager and you ask for a withdrawal. And you get some choices. You can have the funds sent directly to the college, which in my mind seems the simplest, but I see people do all kinds of things. Sometimes people have the funds sent to them and then just pay the bill. So you can do either one and you'll have those different choices. Or some fund managers may have, you know, special setups like this. Fidelity describes this setup bill pay, and that way you can send it directly to the college. But I think you can even set it up to go a little at a time. So talk with your fund manager, set that up, and have those funds withdrawn. And I will say it's a good idea to keep track of all of your 529 withdrawals. You want them to match up to your tax year so you can show that the money withdrawn paid for educational expenses, qualified educational expenses, and then you don't pay taxes on any of the earnings. So that's important. By calendar year, by tax year, you want them to match. And that comes into play, let's say your bill is due in December for the spring, and so you take the money out in December. You withdraw the money and you pay it in December. Just know that's going to be in the tax year in question, and not, even though it's for the spring, it's going to be counted in the tax year that you withdrew it. Then another way people pay is just using your current income. Make it a monthly budget item. All colleges have something called an interest-free monthly payment plan, and they will give you information about that. And that can allow you to spread out the cost over 5, 9, 10, 11, 12 months instead of paying in the more typical way, which is once for the fall semester and once for the spring semester. So look into that. When the college sends you information about this, you may want to pay some of it on a monthly payment plan. And then there's borrowing. So many families find that if you don't have enough savings and enough to pay out of your monthly budget, you may need to take a loan. And that is a loan that either you as the parent take out for your student, or you take it out with your student, because those first federal direct subsidized and unsubsidized loans that I mentioned are in the student's name, and there's no credit check, nothing like that. But any other loans will be more like a regular loan. So because of that, you need to know your credit history, want to borrow only what you need, and you want to keep in mind that whatever you borrow this year, you probably will borrow in future years as well. And think of all those things that we've already mentioned about does the student have an idea of what their career, what their salary might be? Maybe not, but any of that could be factored in if you know. And then the key with finding what other loan you want to borrow is really to do a search as you would with any other loan that you were going to borrow. So you want to research the best loan for you. And that means you want to look at, do you want a fixed or variable interest rate? Sometimes fixed is you can really count on it better instead of kind of judging where interest rates are going to go. And you want to know the repayment timeline. Is that going to work for you? Is it a 10-year repayment? Is it a 15-year repayment? Can you afford that monthly payment? And you also want to understand, am I, as a parent, the only borrower, or am I doing it with my son or daughter? And we'll talk about who's going to pay when. Maybe I've seen some parents say to their students, well, I'll take out the loan with you and I'll pay while you're in college, but then I'd like you to take it over once you're working, once you're making money, or I'll even pay a little bit on one end until you're really able to pitch in. But we're doing this as a family. So those are the kind of conversations you can have. And I know the question that was asked was about how do 529 plans get paid. And as I mentioned, they can go to the college or they can go to you. But loans that you borrow are usually sent directly to the college. In fact, I want to say always directly to the college to pay the bill first. And then if there's any left over for, say, let's say a student is living off campus or something, then the refund is sent to you to pay for those housing costs. Please know when you're researching the best loan for you that multiple credit inquiries in a short period for the same type of loan, an education loan, for example, counts only as one inquiry on your credit. So MEFA does have two great comparing loan options webinars coming up, Wednesday, June 5th at noon and Wednesday, July 10th at 6:30 p.m. So those, I would highly encourage you to look into those before borrowing, because they'll really get into the nitty gritty of the terms and showing you what you need to see before you actually sign on the dotted line, so that you make sure that you get the best loan option for you. Um, I will also say the colleges will probably tell you about the Federal Plus loan, which is parent loan for undergraduate students. That's a loan that the parents can borrow for their student. And they'll probably also tell you about some other options of other types of loans, like a MEFA loan or a loan at a number of banks. Maybe your own bank has an educational loan. So then you will want to do that research and find the loan that's best for you. All right, and this is MEFA's calculator. I'll just show it to you quickly because I love it. I think no matter where you borrow from, it's not a bad idea to go in here and see this and then make sure you know all this information for whatever loan you're going to borrow. So you would just go in and say the amount I want to borrow, how many years before graduation, which might be 4, and then what do you think your credit is? Good, very good, or exceptional, and calculate. So this is for a $20,000 loan, and it just shows all of the different options you have. An immediate repayment, where you'd start repaying in the student's freshman year for 10 years, immediate repayment for 15 years, interest only payment while the student is in college, deferred payment where you pay nothing while the student is in college, and then there's one where the student defers the payment and can release the co-borrower. That's a 15-year loan as well. But you can see that from left to right, the interest rate goes up. So the lowest interest rate, say for MEFA, is for an immediate repayment, 10 years. But just take a look, and then you'll actually be able to see what the exact payment you'll be making. And then when you look at all of the other loan companies and organizations, make sure you know all this information for them too, and that way you can make a very informed decision. All right, so I'm going to go through a quick exercise. Let me just see that. I think there's one more question. No, we answered that, so that's great. All right, so I'm going to just go through a quick exercise because you will all do this differently. You're all going to do this a little bit differently. I have truly worked with thousands of families and everyone does it a little differently. But as I mentioned, I see families piece this all together. So let's say you come to the point where your student is excited about a certain college and you have a $20,000 balance due. Then how are you going to come up with that? So I'm just going to take you through an exercise of how one family might come up with that $20,000. Again, you'll all do that a little differently, but just to get the sense of it. So $20,000 balance due. This family is going to say, well, let's look, what savings do we have? And they figure out that the student has some savings from jobs that they've worked over the last few summers. So the student has $1,000 in savings. They're going to decide to use that. And the parents have a small 529 plan, and they're going to decide to use that $4,000. And then this family actually just paid off a car loan. So they have an extra $500 a month to pay that is in their budget. And before they do something else with it, they decided they're going to join the monthly payment plan at the college. And they're going to decide to pay $500 for 10 months, and that's $5,000. So they're going to do that. And then they're going to take an additional loan. And they're going to find the loan, as we talked about, that has the best interest rate and terms for them, and they're going to borrow a $10,000 loan. Again, I just want to make sure you know this is over and above those federal directed and subsidized and unsubsidized loans that the student is already going to be taking. But that's how this one family is going to come up with that $20,000 balance so the student can enroll. So, what's next? Well, if by chance you have not applied for financial aid and you want to at this point, you can still submit the FAFSA. Go to fafsa.gov ASAP and apply. And there is still federal and state aid eligibility available. Although most colleges probably had deadlines earlier and may not have a lot of college funds left. The Massachusetts financial aid deadline has been moved to July 1st. So it's usually May 1st, but they have extended that. And federal aid, including direct loans, you can all year long, you can always file a FAFSA and get those. And you can see all these other things are open to you. All right, so you do want to try to decide and pay your enrollment deposit by the required college deadline. But please be aware that a lot of these have been delayed. They know they have had to delay because in many cases they haven't even given you a financial aid offer yet. So stay in touch with them. Make sure you know the college deadline. Make sure you know that they know you're waiting for your financial aid offer to make a decision. So stay close in touch. It's a strange year, as I keep saying. Then know that your fall semester bill will probably be sent in June or July, and it's usually due in July or August. And that's when you can really piece together how you're going to pay that and look at those loan options and all of that. Usually, we say apply for any loan that you're going to apply for at least 2 weeks before that bill deadline. Sometimes it's a really quick process, but just in case they have to come back to you for some documentation, and just make sure you leave yourself a couple of weeks. But you don't need to leave yourself a couple of months. You really just need to leave a couple of weeks to be able to make sure you can pay before that bill deadline. And then if you need to set up that payment plan, you can do that over the summer with the college. Now, a word about the wait list. That's such a tricky thing when you haven't been admitted or denied, you've been waitlisted. So what I'd say is that wait lists are treated differently from different colleges. And sometimes some are very long wait lists, and you know, they don't go very deep in it to accept students. Also, sometimes there's less financial aid available for students accepted off the wait list. So keep all of that in mind. So here's what I would say you have to do. If you want, if that college says you're waitlisted and you really are still interested, formally tell them, yes, I am accepting my spot on the wait list. And in fact, keep telling them, because they know as time goes on, different students decide, well, I'm going to go somewhere else. So if you're interested, keep telling them that you're interested and you still are interested. If you might want to write a note to the admissions counselor on why you really still want to come to this college, send in any recent grades, awards, graduation, awards that you received. Keep in touch with them, but mentally begin to move on and do deposit at another college, because you may never get off that wait list. So you need to mentally move on and choose another school. And if you do get accepted at that waitlisted school, you will lose that deposit, but you really do need to deposit somewhere. You can't hope upon hope with a wait list, but you can continue to let them know you're interested. And then some resources. So the financial aid office, once you've applied for financial aid at a college, they are your best resource. You can ask them questions like, will I receive this same award next year? If I get this private scholarship, will it have any effect on my financial aid? All of those questions. The only thing I'll say this year is just please know financial aid offices are so overworked at this point because they're trying to play catch up with the disaster with the FAFSA. So just understand that they are behind and they are busy, but still continue to be in touch, and they will be in touch with you. They are just furiously trying to work and get financial aid offers out to students. If you have Yeah, special circumstances, your award doesn't make sense to you, all kinds of things. Be in touch with them and ask if you can appeal that offer and follow their rules on the process of that. Some people don't mind a phone call, some people prefer email, they might have a form, all of that. And then please do stay in touch with MEFA. We are going to continue to work all summer long to make sure that students get their FAFSA done, have it corrected, are able to compare these award offers, make a good financial decision. So we are just continually working on this. Sign up, make sure you sign up for our emails so we can pass along information. uh, Use our calculators, watch our webinars, read our blog posts, listen to our podcast. What else can I tell you? We have a lot of good information, and then you can call us anytime. You can email us anytime, and you can set up a Zoom appointment with us if you want to talk about something one on one. So please know we are here for you. And this is just all the things. If you sign up for our information, you'll see blog posts and videos and all of that. So please take advantage of that, all for free. And here are a few upcoming webinars. There's one on using your U plan funds on May 15th, and there are those comparing college loan options on June 5th and July 10th. So you can use your phone, grab that QR code and register for those. And if you register for a webinar, even if you can't attend, then the next day we send you the slides and the recording. And here are our social media handles. And as I mentioned, we put a lot out on scholarships as well. And this is where you can call us for questions or email us. So thank you. I'm going to take a sip and I'm going to look at a few questions that I have that have come in. Okay, I have a couple of good things to say. Great question. How do you apply for mass financial aid? So, just by using the FAFSA, Massachusetts just uses the FAFSA, and that's how you apply for all the Massachusetts financial aid. Your FAFSA just automatically will get sent to the Office of Student Financial Aid here in Massachusetts. Also, students who are not eligible for federal aid here in Massachusetts are now eligible for in-state tuition, maybe, possibly, not definitely, but many can be, in-state tuition and some state aid. And if you are not eligible to file the FAFSA because you're not a US citizen or something, there's another form called the MASFA, MASFA. And that is the form that you could use to be eligible for the state benefits of in-state tuition and um, state financial aid. So I want to make sure I say that as well, pass that along to anyone. And you can go to osfa.gov here in Massachusetts and find the MASFA form and complete that. And also those events that I told you about where you can go and get help filing the FAFSA form. You can also get help filing that MASFA form. So again, stay in touch with MEFA for all of those dates. So that's a good one. And there is a really terrific fair called the Boston National College Fair that's happening at the end of this week at the Boston Convention Center at the Seaport. And it is accessible by train. And it is a fair where there will be lots of colleges and booths, and students can walk around and learn about specific colleges. There will also be a counseling booth and some financial aid information and some presentations. So if you go to, I believe it's NACAC College Fairs, or if you just Google NACAC College Fairs and find the Boston National College Fair, that's happening Thursday and Friday. Thursday 9 to 12 and 6 to 8:30, and Friday 9 to 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12 And then someone is asking for, yes, the deadlines. Yep, let me find that for you. All right, I'm going to find the slide which let's go and show. I'm going to find this. I think it's near the beginning when I talk about the FAFSA. Sorry for the, here we go. Okay, so this slide shows, this is a public directory of enrollment commitment deadlines. And let's just go in here and I'll show you. So this shows colleges and information on their commitment dates. So changing deadlines beyond May 1st. And look at all these yeses. And then even if it doesn't say yes, there are some that say no, but extensions made on a case-by-case basis. So this is a great list. And it is at, I'm going to try to get fancy here, okay, and copy that and see if I can put it in the chat to all of you. How about that? Let's see. Hopefully that worked so that you can find that list and look at those deadlines. And if you can't find it, please contact the colleges. All of this FAFSA difficulty has been so hard on you, the families, and it has also been so hard on the colleges. The colleges want you to apply. They want to give you financial aid offers. They want it to all happen. It's just taking a lot of time. It's been a real struggle. All right, I'm going to take another question. And so someone asked, how do you find out if you received Massachusetts financial aid? That will be in your financial aid offer. So the way the colleges work, they actually, through the forms that you submit, they have to understand eligibility for all of these programs, and they pull it all together in your financial aid offer. So they would pull together the federal aid you would be eligible for, the state aid you would be eligible for, and the college aid you would be eligible for. Great. And are there any other questions? Well, I can't emphasize enough that please stay in touch with MEFA. I'm going to go to that last slide again so that you take our phone number and our email. And here we go. And let us help you with any questions you have as you get through this next month and then beyond through the summer as far as affordability. Okay. And I wish you luck and stay in touch and have a great evening. Thanks.